Good afternoon and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that aims at shedding the light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and on Black excellence. To represent Black excellence, we have a special guest today who is going to talk to us about A Wonderful World, the Louis Armstrong Musical, currently in previews and opening on November 11 at the legendary Studio 54 in New York. Our
That's
special
right.
guest is James T. Lane. Welcome to My Harlem Portrait, James.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us. You are an actor, singer, dancer, and writer who is back on Broadway as the alternate Louis in this show that I saw your performance is absolutely mesmerizing. This show tells the story of Armstrong's world-renowned musical career, which spanned over more than 5 decades.
Hmm.
Features his music, his trailblazing music rooted in the New Orleans sound, which is
Hmm.
where Louis was coming from, and
Hmm.
all the songs that he has recorded all over the globe and made
Hmm.
famous all over the globe, including, of course, What a Wonderful World and When You're Smiling.
Hmm. Hmm.
How does it feel to be in this show? How does it feel to represent such an incredible performer? And how difficult was it to get into his shoes? Because your voice doesn't sound anything like his voice.
Not at all. Not at all.
Trained like crazy to have your
Hmm.
voice sound like that and at the same time not spoil your own voice.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Maria, thank you so much for having me on this afternoon and for giving us this space and this spotlight to kind of, highlight African Americans' contribution into this into the entertainment field. Thank you very much. I appreciate it so much. And you know, how does it feel? I mean, well, the first thing that I'll say is that what a blessing and a privilege as an African American person to have the essence of what it takes to bring this story to life, like in my bones. Like I wake up with so many of the things that I would need to develop this character as Louis Armstrong. Like in the morning, like in my DNA, in my genetics, in how I was raised in my culture, I come to the first day of rehearsal feeling and knowing and appreciating and living in that culture. That is not always the case, as you know. Usually African Americans are, characters, they're a sliver of a character in someone else's story, that is on Broadway. And here we have, a production, a musical where I come already equipped, just by opening my eyes. And, how does it feel to portray this icon of African American history, US American history, this international global icon who is, the father of jazz?
Mhm.
It's a tremendous, tremendous responsibility. And how do I look at that responsibility? Is by preparing as much as I can in addition to what I show up with. So reading material, on the jazz greats. We have this lovely thing called YouTube now, so you can look at, a lot of his concerts and a lot of his interviews with Dick Cavett and on Ed Sullivan show. You can just what I clued into, which everybody I think connects with in some way, but what I really uh, bring forth in my portrayal of Mr. Armstrong is that his special type of magic when he gets happy on stage. Like there's something that like happens to him spiritually, where I think in the black church they say, you get the spirit. I can just see him feel so good about playing this music, feels so good about sharing this gift, and he gets really happy. And I was like, I know what that magic is, because I have felt those feelings in my life. And then I connected to the fact that he was gifted a bugle when he was very young by Professor Davis, which he was at an all boys reformatory school. And he was acting up, and somebody gifted him a gift of a bugle player, and he had to make a choice. And I just identified with those teachers that poured into me when I was very young and said, hey, you like moving and you like dancing. Let's tease that out of you. So I connected with him there, of that tutelage of finding something at a very young age and sticking with it throughout my lifetime. I went to an elementary school for the performing arts. I went to a high school for
Wow.
performing arts, and then went on and on and on there. And so I identified with that aspect of it so much, of just chipping away at the craft. You don't even know, you're not practicing a craft. You're just loving this thing that you do. It brings you that feeling. And that's the way it was for me. I didn't think I was just dancing to Michael Jackson. I was just, being this character in acting class, or singing this song in music class. I just thought it was fun, and it made people feel good, and I felt good. So all of those little connections were so closely intertwined. And of course, those other kind of hardships and challenges that he faced. I can't even imagine what being a youth in this country during the early 1900s, and seeing people who were getting lynched, and you couldn't go here, you couldn't go there because of the color of your skin. I grew up in South Philadelphia, and it was in the early 1980s, and there was it was a very segregated city in Philadelphia. It wasn't
Still in the
segregated
city.
on. Yes. And I remember there were some places that I just couldn't go by myself,
Wow.
and so I connected with all of those things that kind of like mold you and make you into, who you are today. Lewis and I shared a lot of those things. And the music, you know, what a tremendous gift. I was talking to someone who her father was 104 years old,
Wow.
and I was talking to her after the show that you were at, actually. And and she said, my father's got to see this show, because he feels like he is of a generation that the music is lost. And
Mm.
here we are with this Broadway show with all of the music from his time period, and we get to put that on such a major stage on Broadway. So lots of feelings, Maria, about all of the things. Yeah.
Wonderful. And how does it feel? How did you get it? And what is the role? What does it mean to be an alternate? An alternate to a Tony Award winner, James MONROE IGLEHART, who got the
Yes.
Tony for his role of Aladdin, original
Hmm.
Aladdin. How
Hmm.
does it feel, and what does it mean?
Well, what does it mean? So here's the thing, there are a couple of different ways in which when they were putting together A Wonderful World, it is such a heavy lift. It's a tremendous effort for one actor to do 8 shows a week. So in building the way that the show is cast, they've cast two people to play Louis Armstrong. Yes. So I am the alternate Louis Armstrong, which means I play the role 2 times a week. And then James MONROE IGLEHART plays the role 6 times a week. And that's the way that it is. So I've been cast as a principal to play or portray Louis Armstrong. The what it says on my contract is Louis Armstrong alternate. So, which is, and you might say, or one might say, well, that's the understudy, and I can understand that. Or they say, well, that's the standby, and I can understand that thinking. But here's where it differs. A standby or an understudy. Well, let's talk about an understudy. An understudy is usually someone dancing in the show 8 shows a week, and they will then, after the show is open, they will start to prepare to understudy the role. So all their costumes will then be built, all of their rehearsals will then be built, but they still have 8 shows a week as the ensemble job that they do. That is not a principal, that is not a principal contract. It's an ensemble contract. And they never know when they're going on. They can, they just never know. A standby is an individual who is hired to stand by, so they're not in the show, but they don't know when they're going on. So it's a person that is just hired to stand by for role or various roles, but they don't know when they're going on. So it's like an understudy, but they don't have the job to do in the show 8 shows a week, but they still don't know what they're doing, and they're not contracted as the role. So an alternate is they have seen the work that I do, and I'll talk about myself in terms of how I got the job. I've been working on Broadway. I got my first Broadway show in 2006, so I've been in the community for 18 years. And gradually, I've come from the ensemble to playing lead roles. Like I just played Billy Flynn and Amos Hart. In Chicago, long running show. I played Paul and Kiss Me Kate here in Studio 54. So I have principal roles. I wrote and performed in my one man show that was off Broadway. So there people have eyes and they see shows, and Duncan Stewart, the casting director, and Chris Renshaw, I've been on their radar for quite some time. Duncan
Chris
Stewart, I've worked
Renshaw is
with.
the director, right?
Yes, Chris Renshaw is the director, and Duncan Stewart is the casting director. And so when they were putting together the cast for A Wonderful World, Duncan Stewart brought up my name, and my audition consisted of having a conversation on the couch about if I would like to take on this role in the alternate position as Louis Armstrong. And it's lovely when you can just have conversations and people know your work and people know your work ethic and how you do what you do, and you are just invited along on this journey. So that's the way that I got that job. A lovely conversation on the couch.
That's a pretty good way of getting a job like this.
Absolutely.
Not everybody gets this in this way.
Yes, yes, you're right. Very rare, very rare.
Your auditions were your shows.
Yes, that's it. That's a lovely way to say it. My auditions were my shows. And I'll only add to that is um my audition is my reputation of throughout the past years because that matters a lot.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Especially on the Great White Way.
Yes, it does.
So tell us a bit about this new incredible family that you have here.
Mhm.
The talented, the ensemble. What I saw was to me a mesmerizing show, starting from the music, which is that kind of music that just moves me like crazy.
Mhm.
So just the music itself, the dancing, the voices of the four wives and everybody in the cast,
Extraordinary.
the four wives of Louis Armstrong, amazing, all of them. I wouldn't know which one to say is the best because they're all amazing. The choreography, the set is amazing.
Yes.
Everything is beautiful. Tell me a little bit how it feels to be in this. This is a full-scale musical, which is
Mhm.
produced, among others, by Vanessa Williams. She's one.
Yes, absolutely.
And tell me how it feels. Let me
You know, it it
interact.
it first I'll tell you like the macro of the feeling. It feels so good, Maria, to put on a big old-fashioned Broadway musical with all the bells and whistles. No stone is unturned, and they're not skimping on the prices. They are doing it. They're really doing it big because they want it to last, and they believe that it will last. And they have poured into the casting of this show. Like you said, I'm I'm looking at these babies that are in the ensemble. Like there's a lot of them I did not know because they are new, been here a year, been here just two. And I look on the stage everywhere. I'm saying everybody's a triple threat. Everybody's singing, everybody's dancing, everybody's acting, everybody is doing the job that they're hired to do. There's no weak links anywhere in that dancing ensemble. And then they step out and have their little scenes and everything. It's just a wonderful thing to watch as moving into another area and stage of my own life. So that's been a beautiful kind of thing to watch these young ones who are coming in packed with talent. And the wives, I tell you, boy, I remember Maria, my first run through in the rehearsal hall, and because you meet all the wives in the chapters, and we start with Dionne FIGGINS, who plays Daisy. We go to Jennifer Fleming, who plays Lil Hardin. We get to Kim Exum, who plays Alpha Smith, and we get to Darlesia CEARCY at the end, who plays Lucille Wilson. To travel through, let's just say, I'll just use it to picture it, travel through this emotional journey with these talented women all giving their heart. I mean, I went to them after my first run through and I just thanked them. I said, thank you all for giving me your whole self.
Yeah.
From my head to my toes, I felt that I was receiving such a gift from these women. And it is my hope that every night that I'm on, that I reflect that same energy back, that I pour into them as much as they are pouring into me. And then they're talented. Like then, because they show up as these beautiful spiritual people giving all they can, and then they have the talent to back it up. So the singing and the acting and the emotional journey of telling this story. And then all of the other players that are in it, Gavin Gregory, who plays King Joe Oliver, and Jimmy Smokula, a couple of other folks that I'm just blanking on their names right now, that weave this tapestry. Louis Armstrong, you know, he, of course, of the time that he was in, it was very, very segregated, but he loved all people. Joe Glazer, who played his boss, it was a Caucasian gentleman. So all of the people made up Lewis's tapestry, from the rich to the poor to the in between. That's why he bought a house in Queens. Lucille bought the house, but that's how they live in Queens. He didn't want all that fancy stuff. He wanted to live right with the people. Maybe they got some nice stereos or like a nice car, but it wasn't like a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. They just were just real, real, real people. And so creating this world with these wonderful, wonderful artists, some that I've known before and never worked with, to some that, Dionne and I worked on a couple of projects together. And then it's been wonderful. And then working with James MONROE IGLEHART, the generosity, of um, you know, taking care that I'm getting some of the things that I need to kind of do what I need to do in this process. It's challenging. Usually alternates are brought on after the show is up. So it's been a real challenge, Maria, in getting the time to get to into this character. And so I've been doing that a lot with James, trying to figure out, and we're sharing notes and sharing ideas and beliefs. And we're in previews, so things are changing, we're growing, and the relationship with him has been a real treat and a real good thing, because it could be another way.
Yeah.
And it's been a real generous time. But and it starts there. James is also a co-director, as well as Chris Renshaw, who is the director, and Christina Seju, who is a co-director. And we needed black voices on the directing team. This is a black man's story, an icon. So we need to dot our I's and cross our T's. We need somebody on the other side of the table who says, "Oh no, that doesn't feel good, or that doesn't feel authentic." So Oren Squire is doing a great job at listening and adding and kind of you know sculpting our story of Louis Armstrong because you can't tell everything. You can't tell everything. We've got to get real specific about the story that we're telling. So it's been a tremendous opportunity to explore this jazz icon's life and very inspiring.
And as you just mentioned, Orange Square is the book writer.
Yes, he's the book writer. Yes.
You didn't tell me about how you trained your voice. I'm very interested
Okay,
because
so
I've known you.
uh-huh.
I did not recognize you at all. I had no idea it was you on that stage, which tells a lot about your skills as an actor, because knowing you and not recognizing you at all, it's something.
Thank you very, very much. When so I would say about maybe 5 years ago now, because it was before the pandemic. I would say that I made the switch from having voice lessons every other week or every 3 weeks to consistently having voice lessons every week. I'd say that started about 5 years ago. And so when I came into this space of learning what the Lewis voice would require, I had a good foundation of knowing the voice, knowing the instrument, and studying the instrument. In addition to that, the company Martian Entertainment, who the executive producers of A Wonderful World, they really want to make sure that the Louis Armstrong principal actors are taken care of. So, in addition to my voice lesson that I have every week, we have a voice coach, a Louis voice coach that coaches us on creating that sound. And so we do loads and loads of exercises and singing the material with that sound. But Maria, it started with an anatomy lesson, like what the vocal folds are doing, what we have something called the false vocal cords, that sound that you make. That's your false vocal cords. You're talking or
Oh,
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Louis Armstrong. It's the false vocal cords. Yeah, that you're
wow.
talking on. Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Louis Armstrong. And this is my real vocal cords. So you learn the anatomy of all that is, and then you build it up. I don't go talking for hours and hours at a time at the beginning, little by little, by little by little, getting the text, working with the text. Then we also have a voice dialect coach because, as you mentioned earlier, Lewis is from New Orleans, so we got to get that sound there. We got to get that down there. You got to get all of that there. So
Wow.
so all of that matters when you're creating a character, and you just build on it and build on it. And what I do personally is, you also listen to concerts. You also listen to interviews, and then that's the voice, and then you have to sing in that voice. So it is, and then we have voice dialect coach, a guy named Jerome Butler, who really gave us the New Orleans sound. And what I Lewis is the physical embodiment of what jazz is. So
Yes.
he speaks in a rhythm, and it just spills into his music, and it spills into the way he acts and the breath control. Now, Lewis was a tremendous marijuana smoker and drinker and a regular smoker, so he sounded different in the beginning than he did at the end. So that's a journey you have to take. All of that is inserted in, and you just have to you have to keep trying not to judge yourself, and to have a process. And then, most importantly, save that space for that fun and that inspiration in the moment. Yeah.
Wow. I've learned something incredible right now. Incredible. And I knew that must have been a very difficult thing, must be a very difficult thing
Yeah.
constantly. And as you said, not only talk like him, but sing like him.
Sing like him, like sing like him. And
Wow.
then And then the interesting things, because I this is my first time up at bat as an alternate. And my job is to be ready for my days that I'm on, but also always have the instrument ready. So, say I was on Sunday. And so, what I do for myself is I don't talk on Monday. Tuesday, I start to talk a little bit more. Wednesday, I'll have a lesson. So I really give myself time to really relax the voice. And I've got a humidifier here and all of those things. So it's not just what's happening on stage, but it's how you treat yourself on those other days too.
And you are in your changing room in the theater right now because you have rehearsal very soon, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So when I get off of this call, I will warm up for the rehearsal because I can't take it for granted. I must always invest in the instrument because when you put in, it serves you. So you've got to treat it with care and concern because then it will treat you with care and concern.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't have much left. Actually, we'll take more uh,
Okay.
because I want to talk about your own play.
Mhm.
Because I met you last year at the 2023 Adelco Awards,
Yes.
and which are the only awards celebrating and giving awards, especially to Black theater.
Mhm.
And you won for Best Solo Performance for Triple Threat.
Yes.
It played off Broadway. It was a great success at Theater Row in New York City. It's a very intimate, very profound, very strong autobiographical story. What made you become so vulnerable to express yourself and give that out of yourself? Because I
Thank
was,
you.
wow.
Thank you for asking that. Maria, I think there's something inside of me that realized that real two things I'll speak about. That there were stories in the African American gay experience that were not being told by African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
They were being told by other people who didn't have the experience, and you're saying, "Here's the experience,"
Here's
and
the,
passing that off as authentic. So that it was that, and then I looked at my own career path and when I looked at the landscape of Broadway, there weren't like if I at that time, particularly when I was writing, if I wasn't in Hamilton, which is not my culture, but they cast people who look like me, or The Lion King, those are animals, but they cast people like me. Where on Broadway, Ain't Too Proud happened, but and that was one. But I didn't have a lot of options for stories that reflect who I am on at this level on Broadway. And so I started to write because I wanted to do theater that was going to use all of what I had to offer, a triple threat. I'm a singer, I'm an actor and a dancer, and now I'm a writer. And I wanted to use all of those things and then shine a light on a lot of the issues and themes that I talked about in the play, but I wanted to use all that I had to do it. And so, yes, I remember the moment when it wasn't the content that disturbed or that made me feel vulnerable. It was the fact that I played 20 different characters in video and on the stage. It's in the style of like Lily Tomlin or Whoopi Goldberg in their one person show. Um, um, John Leguizamo. It's in those styles of which is one person doing those characters. With the vulnerability was more about, oh, who do you think you are? Do you think you're Laurence Olivier? Who do you think you are being this actor, being this? And I thought, I'm doing all of these characters. I know these people. I know they're in me. Just like Lewis, I have all of that inside of me, and I can share it because it's from me. I know all these people. They live in me, and and I've experienced them. So that was I really I because it was a regular play. I wrote it as a regular play, And then I realized one day when I was working out of town in Chicago that it was a one person play and I had to do it. And I cried and I laughed and then I got to work, you know. Yeah.
And it was incredible.
Thank you.
It really shook me. So people who haven't seen it, hope it goes up again soon because
Thank you.
but you don't have time now. You're doing Louis. You're doing enough right now.
Yeah.
But so thank you so much for this conversation. We really have come to the end
Okay.
of our time. And thank you for giving us yourself and your insights to see what's going on. And please tell the viewers of My Harlem Portraits, give them a message.
Please, please come on and see Louis Armstrong's story in A Wonderful World. It's a story of a jazz icon through 70 years of his life, and share with us all in the jazz of life, because jazz is about the choices you make in between the notes. So come on and experience a wonderful world playing at Studio 54.
Wonderful. And you play every weekend, right?
Yes, yes, I'm on every week. You can ask the box office or whenever you call or however you get your tickets, who is the Lewis on that day, and they'll let you know. But I have shows every week. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again, and thank you to our viewer. See you next week, 12:30 p.m., 1993, exclusively on Spectrum and YouTube channel My Harlem Portraits. Bye-bye, and thank you again.